Hey there, Cohort 1 of the Online Course Redesign and Faculty Certification Program. Welcome to your first Tuesday tune-in. Each week, we're going to try to get to you, and if we can't do Tuesday, it might be the follow-up on a Wednesday, but we're going to try to get to you every Tuesday with an update. In general, it's good practice to update your students during the time that they're in a course with you, and however you do that is up to you, right? It could be an announcement, just textual. It could be any kind of thing. In this case, I am using a tool called Open Broadcaster Studio, which allows me to have a little bit of fun on the back end by adding music and doing fun things like making my floating visage show up in the course. But that being said, I hope you like it. Each week, we're going to come to you with kind of talking about where we've been in the previous week, where we're going in the next week, and then we'll talk about a tip, a Blackboard tip or what have you. This week, obviously, you're working through your Thursday and Sunday due date cadences. And your Thursday due date, obviously, is the Start Here unit. So the activities in Start Here will be due for you on Thursday. Pretty easy activities. It's just a really quick survey, an introductory discussion, and a one-question quiz. Remember, as according to our orientation, we use those quizzes to leverage access to the next module. So make sure you complete everything in order and do those quizzes at the end. And then the Sunday due date will be Module 1. So you'll need to get your contents in for Module 1 on Sunday. Now, I say that. We set up these due dates for you to kind of help you figure out how due dates work for you in your own courses. But we do realize that you are all probably have a heavy load. And so we will not be taking away anyone's birthday if they're a little late submitting their work. So don't stress about that. We want you to learn something from the experience and not necessarily feel like we're the stormtroopers out to get you. Even though, as we all know, stormtroopers have terrible aim. But I digress. So again, this week, you want to start with Start Here. That means you want to make sure that you get your way through the welcome and introduction, you do the pre-assessment, you do the introduce yourself discussion, and then you do the Start Here check-in. Now, I want to actually devote today's Tuesday Tune-In to talking about what's coming or some of the things in the course you may have noticed, you may not have paid much attention to. Your students see them. And those are these little circles next to next to your folders, and indeed inside the contents of your modules. This is progress tracking. And when I think of progress tracking, I think of them like not a to-do list, but a to-done list for your students. It's a way for them to mark where they are in your course and kind of have a feeling for where they've been so they know what they've done and they know where to jump to. On the other side, you can track where they've been via their progress tab when you look at their individual gradebook overview, when you go to your students tab. So it's kind of a fun thing there. But that being said, I want to give you an idea of how this works from the student perspective because you may not have experienced it. So when I click on course information, it works differently for folders in your course than it does for learning modules that have that forced sequencing turned on. So here under course information, you will see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 things in it, right? So I know as a student that I'm going to access the syllabus. When I do access the syllabus, it's going to show up here as per usual, and I close it. You will notice then on the little circle here that I have actually looked at it. Now, that halfway full means that I've looked at it. As a student inside a folder that doesn't have forced sequencing, because you can't do that in sequential learning in folders, I'd have to click it again to mark it as complete. So opening it puts it halfway marked. Clicking it a second time puts a check mark on it. And for the student, that lets them know that they've been there, they looked at it, they're familiar with it, right? And so when you look at that now, when I close my folder, I now have a little thing here saying, oh yeah, I've looked at it. So I can't mark it complete until I complete the things inside of it. So again, there's the 24/7 support desk right there, right? It shows up. I'm looking at the thing. I'm going to close it. I'm going to mark it complete. The link to find your instructional designer, which takes you to a page where you can email and reach out, which is, remember, one of the things that we'd like you to do in this program. But that being said, once I do that and come back, I can do that. And then lastly, I can look at the virtual office discussion forum and see if there are a response that I need to look at in there. And there are, and I'm going to get to those today. But now I can click it again And boom, I have looked at everything in this folder. So now when I close this folder, my students, or as the student myself, I know that I can do that. Now, that's in a folder. In this course, we leverage learning modules to display your content, right? So when I think about your content, I think about how it's laid out. Now you will see here in this learning module, we have sequential viewing of the content turned on. That means you have to approach the content in the learning module in the order that it appears. You cannot go to the end and come back. You have to start at the beginning and move your way through every step, right? So you'll see here, this one shows that it's got a circle and these are locked. So I can't view them until I view the one before it. So I go to my first option and it takes me to my first bit of documents here, right? Now, you'll see the navigation will stay with me in the top right, but I can't click it until I've viewed the entire document. So as a student, I could scroll down, I could read, I could watch, scroll down some more, make sure to go all the way to the end of this particular document. And when I do, you'll notice the next becomes available for me to click on. So I will click it. Now, just to show you, I'm going to get out of that really quickly. You will see that it's automatically going to put a check mark there for me. So there's another benefit of leveraging a learning module and turning on that forced completion, is that it will automatically say that the student has looked at it once they click to the next thing. If you don't turn on forced completion, any document they look at, they're going to have to go through and check it. And click it again just to make sure that they looked at it. But when you do forced completion, it forces them to read through the document. And so they have looked at it, right? You'll also notice in learning modules, it lets me know as the student what I have looked at or what I've completed, what I've opened or started, and then what I have yet to complete, right? So I've completed one, I've got one that I've kind of started, and then I have two more that I haven't done yet. So again, every time I click this, it's going to let me know that I'm done with a specific activity, right? So for example, any assignment or discussion that I do in my course, I can start my attempt. I can go in, and in this case, it's that survey activity that we talked about in the orientation video. I'm going to say that I've done it. So I'm going to go pre-assessment submitted, and then I'm going to say great and submit it. It will say, are you sure? I will say yes, and then boom, I am done. Now, again, I don't want to start a second attempt. I can go on to my discussion if I want to, right? And move on to that next thing. But instead, I'm going to open it up. It now shows that I have done 2 of 4 of these things, right? So as you work your way through the modules, it will check them off for you. Another benefit of that forced completion, it lets the students know where they've been. It lets you know, if you look at the students' progress in your course, where they've clicked and what they've finished. So it's a kind of a win-win for both sides, right? So this is progress tracking. It's turned on by default for all your courses. And we think it's a benefit for you and your students. Remember, in order to see Module 2, I need to get all the way through the Introduce Yourself discussion and the Start Here check-in. So once I do Start Here check-in, Module 1 will actually show up at the top of this screen. So again, so that's kind of the inside the course tip that I wanted to give you. I wanted to make sure you were all familiar. Also, I want to spend a little bit of time, just a couple minutes here, making sure that you're familiar with that new content designer in Ultra Documents for Ultra. Gone are the days where Ultra forces you to have just one long column of text and pictures, where you had to put a picture and then text below it or above it. You couldn't put it to the right, you couldn't put it to the left, right? So when I think about that, it looks somewhat like this, right? Where I've got this text here, I've got a document, fun stuff like that, right? It's not exactly super exciting or super neat for me to look at. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to create a new document that does things a little different. So you'll see here, if I were to go to edit this document, everything inside the document is inside one giant content box. So it doesn't give me much to play with. I can't move these pictures around. I can't align them to make them work where I want them to do. However, I can do a little bit more. So what I'm going to do quickly is I am going to open up my tab, and I am going to my favorite generator on the planet, and that is the Lorem Ipsum generator. And I am going to copy some text from that generator, right? There it is, it's copied, which is awesome. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to open up a new document just for fun. I'm going to create one, and in this module, And a document, if you'll remember, is kind of like the building block of all Ultra courses. In the old and original, it was items. In this case, the document is what I'm creating. And a document is a place to put my text, to embed videos, to put in pictures, those kinds of things in terms of creating the actual fiber and being of my course, right? So in this case, I would start by adding some content. Now, I'm going to pretend like I have gone in and added this text, right? Woohoo, look at me adding that wonderful text. Then I might, I might say, you know what, I want to do a bulleted list after that text. So I'm going to start here with 1, and then I am going to actually just copy this last sentence just for brevity's sake and have a couple more things there, right? So there's my list. Then in the past in Ultra, I would need to just hit an enter button or put it above and add a picture. I don't have to do that anymore. Think of when you create documents as each bit of content is a discrete block. In this case, I've got this content block here, but let's say I want to add an image. So I'm going to go down to my next bit of content block. I can choose above it. I can choose below it. I can also use this plus up here on the top left-hand side and choose to add content. And boom, it'll stick it right below, right? So once I do, I can come back in here and I am going to insert an image. I'm going to upload it from my device. So you're not going to be able to see this next bit of dialogue, or maybe you will, we shall see. Yes, you can, awesome. So I'm going to type in the word, because I know it's in here, laboratory. I believe it's where it is. Let's see, or where did I save it? A laboratory. It's thinking about it. Maybe I'm going to check somewhere else and see if I put it here. Laboratory. Lab. Let's just start with lab. Okay, not there. So let's go back here and type. There it is. Ta-da! Laboratory. So I'm going to click laboratory, obviously. I'm going to click on laboratory, and there's my nice little beakers and magnifying glass and flasks and all my chemicals. Anyway, I'm going to choose next. And that tells me here where I'm in the interface where I can, change the focus, how far it goes in, if the ratio is original or whatnot. And I'm gonna hit next again. And I might just say, I might give it some alt text here and be like, this photo contains pictures of laboratory equipment, right? And then I'm gonna choose view and save. So now I have here, and I'm going to scroll my page down just so you can see it. I have here a picture inside this particular box. Now, I would have to put up with it being above or below back in the old days. But with new Content Designer and Ultra documents, I can take this picture and bring it up to the right of, and I'll show you again, I'm going to put it back. Each one, when I put my mouse over the content block, a little purple bounding box, and I'm going to turn off the editing. A purple bounding box shows up around it. See how it does that? When I move my mouse, a purple bounding box shows. Up on the top left-hand side of that purple bounding box is a little edit, delete, and move in the middle. The move option lets me take it and drag it up into the right. Now, for starters, when I do this, it will make it small, right? You can see here I've got that. I may want my picture a little larger. So what I'll do is take and drag that picture over here. And now I have some content here that I can add. And I'm going to take that little space out of the top of that one. But look, boom, I have just made my content in a way that's a little bit more engaging for my students, a better use of space. Again, this is that new Content Designer from Ultra that allows me to do it. It also lets me undo some stuff. So if I choose undo and undo again, it brings it all the way back to the bottom, right? Now, if I'm not a fan of dragging, for example, if my dragging is terrible and maybe my mouse is a little too sensitive, I can do another thing, which I just love. Instead of dragging, I can just click these 6 dots with my mouse. Click them once, and I'll have the options. Move to row above, move into new roll, shrink from left, shrink from right. Stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. I'm going to choose move to row above. Boom, it then puts it to the left. I want it to be on the other side. So I'm going to go boom here and go move to the right. And now it's to the right. Then I can click that again and go expand to the left. And it just did what I did by dragging and moving and enlarging with my mouse. It did that just by me accessing this this little button bar here. When I'm ready, I hit save, and I now have a document that looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye. And I'm not just limited to, let's say, those kinds of folders. So let's say I wanted to have a little bit more fun with this document. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this content, and we're going to reuse kind of the same stuff in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add another content block, and I'm going to choose to insert my image, and I'm going to actually go and do stock images from Unsplash instead, right? Or I could even generate images from AI, but I'm going to choose stock images from Unsplash, and I'm going to go with this record collection, right? And choose next. Or maybe books. Those are books, not a record collection. My eyes were not working with me earlier. So I'm going to hit next. The benefit of me bringing in a picture from Unsplash, by automatic, it's going to have the wonderful bit of alternative text brought in with me. It is vinyl records. I was right. Never mind. So I'm going to choose View and then hit Save. And so now I have brought in this wonderful bit of picture, right, that I've got here. And I'm going to take out the space above and below it, just because I can. And then I might want to do something a little more fun. So for instance, I might want to take this little bit of text here and copy it. And if I need to add more, I will. But I'm going to start by adding in a content box. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to come in and add content, and I'm going to paste that text in, right? So boom, there it is. Now, I might want to take this content and have it just show up on the left-hand side of that text, right? And so now I've got content here on the left side, and I'm going to actually add some more content, just and have some fun with it, right? So I might come here and do something like this, heading, right? And then I might come in and be like, all right, text style, I'm going to go with a header. So I've got a heading here, right? And then I'm going to take and copy this text, right? You can see what I'm doing here, right? I'm having a little bit of fun with my text to show you kind of the formatting that I'm able to do here. So right now, oops, I'm going to come back and add it again one more time. Boom, there it is. Okay, so right now I've got text here to the left, but I could also have some fun adding text underneath it too, right? So I could come in and have this picture here, but then I might want to have 4 other columns underneath it to describe other features of this picture. Let's say it's a map, for instance, instead of this picture. So what I can do now is come in and I'm going to add content, and I'm just going to simply take this and copy it, and here add one here. Oh, I didn't do the heading, but that's okay. I'll get it in a second. Now I'm going to add another below it, another content heading, boom, and I'm going to add one more content heading, and then there you go. So, and I'm going to add in something else in a second just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing here. So one more thing I could do, I'm going to come in and add a picture, and I'm going to come in and choose content one more time, and I'm going to choose image and stock images from Unsplash, and then just do one record and see what that does. There it is. Cool. I'll do that. Select record player will be fine. And next, and I'm done, right? So now I might want to, and I'm going to choose view. And so now I've got these 4, if you will, separate items, right? There are 4 discrete things here that I want to make part and parcel of what we're looking at. So I might choose to start doing some things. So I'm going to take this guy, move it up and to the right of that, or not to the right, I'm sorry. Yes, I am. And I'm going to take this guy and move it up and to the right of that. And I'm going to take one more person and move it up and to the right of that. So now you can see that I could come back in here and have a little more fun and be, you know, heading to header, right? And then I'm going to copy that and then come into here and make that heading 3 and come in here and there's heading 4. So I've already done something a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting for my students as they're thinking about getting into my content. So you can see here that I've got text and image here. I've got some information here, a larger picture here, and then a broken down columns on the bottom. You can make your content more engaging. So I'm going to try to do stuff like this for you guys at every one of these little Tuesday tune-ins where I add a tip about doing something with your Ultra courses. I hope you find it helpful. Remember, your first due date is this Thursday evening, and I look forward to talking with you online. Have a great time, y'all. And don't forget to save. That's also super important. So there you go. You can see the finished product right here. Some course content that's definitely a little bit more engaging. All right, so thanks a lot, y'all. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Look for our feedback in your assignments when we start doing it. We think a really important part of how we're communicating with you is what we do in the feedback. So have a great day.